I do notice that in Perth, like the FIFO guys, some of them also work as contractors as well.
Correct.
Almost in a way, some of them aren't even aware they are.
The wage earner knows what they're getting every fortnightly or month. The self-employed gentleman or girl does not know what they're necessarily going to bank next month. So that's where it's just understanding their cash flow and bits and pieces on that as well. There could be seasonal factors at play.
This is the Build Out West podcast with your host Tony Hyde from Evolution House and Lawn Specialists and Catherine Smith from Build Bright Builder Brokers.
If you guys are looking to build in WA or simply curious to see what's going on in building, you guys are in the right place. We're here to give insight with professionals in the game, coming to give the inside scoop. Episodes are uploaded weekly, so don't worry, we don't skip a beat and you won't either. Like, share, subscribe, sit back, relax, and let's go.
Welcome to the Build Out West podcast with your host, Catherine Smith from Build Bright Brokers. I have the amazing Jeremy Whelan. I know. We're going to pump him up today. He has been on before, but I have brought him in for a second episode. He's Jeremy from In Mortgage and Finance Services here based in Perth. He is the all-round finance guy, but obviously specialises more in the retail space.
Yep. Look, our firm, we obviously do all the home loans and PAYGs, but I have a particular passion for the self-employed gentleman, or girl for that matter.
Yes. So today we want to really, I guess you'd give some content and some value around people who are working under an ABN, who are self-employed. It's definitely a little bit more of a niche or a grey area when people are borrowing for things. I do find in the finance broking space, most finance brokers do prefer a PAYG just with very typical pay slips and things like that. It's a little bit easier.
Yep.
I don't understand the finance world, but maybe that's sort of where you start, you know, and then as you advance a little bit further in your career, you understand the self-employed.
Yeah, typically I did all the home loans and bits and pieces to start with, but eventually went through to commercial and did commercial lending and obviously got trained on how to read a set of financials and all the bits and pieces that are involved in that space. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, so I guess give us a breakdown of what is the difference between self-employed, PAYG.
Yeah, so look, self-employed, obviously, we are reliant. Banks are assessing them based on their end of financial year results sort of thing, and there can be variations to that depending on what's happening. But, we are relying on those financials and tax returns, so forth, and obviously understanding how the income is made up in that. Yeah. So, the income sometimes can be dispersed. They can have multiple entities. So it could be family trust structures and disbursements to beneficiaries and so forth as well. So it's understanding how the flow of the income goes through the financials as well, which is a key part of what we look to do. Yep.
Yeah, I do notice that, particularly in Perth, like the FIFO guys, some of them also work as contractors as well.
Correct. Yep.
Almost in a way, some of them aren't even aware they are. Which I have found quite alarming in some cases.
Yes, it sometimes happens.
I've seen that come across my desk a few times and they're not actually aware they are under
Correct.
sort of that ABN model, particularly more so like cleaners and things like that in their lines as well. I've had a few electricians that are under that model as well as a contractor.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if someone thinks they're a wage earner, we obviously ask for pay slips, and then the day, well, that's not a pay slip, that's an invoice.
Yes.
Yes, so you're invoicing for your time based on the labour that you've done. So,
yes.
Yep. So
why would someone who is self-employed use a broker, particularly if they're looking?
Well, I think is even on the banks themselves, everyone loves the wage earner deal, and that is the big market. Small business is probably a smaller segment, but it is a little more specialised, a little more skill is required to really understand it, and that's why banks themselves will split up areas, and like home loans go to, for PAYGs go one area, and self-employed gets treated differently in some other space.
Yeah.
So, and that's where it's going to, so a broker that obviously understands how the SME space works. And like I said, it is a really particular passion area of my own. As a firm, yes, we do it all, but a lot of the other residential brokers will come to me in terms of got some self-employed about how we treat that. Yep.
Yeah. I have noticed more so the bigger banks like self-employed rather than sort of the second tier sort of bank.
Not necessarily. I mean, the bigger banks, so they will have a certain criteria. I mean, you could also say the bigger banks don't like tax debt, but small business at times can, get themselves in trouble with that because they've got to know how to manage that.
Yes.
So the PAYG, the wage earner knows what they're getting every fortnightly or month. They can see what the self-employed gentleman or girl does not know what they're necessarily going to bank next month. And all right, so that's where it's just understanding their cash flow and bits and pieces on that as well. There could be seasonal factors at play as well. So that's why banks will look at that and obviously look at that 12 years results, like the end of financial year. So as an example, particularly we had one, and he was a plumber. He came out from the UK. Situation was he obviously started as a wage earner to start with, and then he's transitioned in. And I liked him because he really wanted to grow his income, and he obviously wanted to set up and work more, sort of stuff. So we initially helped him with a house and land package loan that we did initially. That's gone pretty well, and I remember his partner at the time really wasn't aware, and I just had to illustrate, look, you need to understand the interest expense you pay to a bank is like rent that you're currently paying on a house today. So just think them, they're both landlords.
Yes.
Sort of thing. So obviously, there was an educational process on that. So your husband's trying to grow his income pie, which is fantastic. End of the day, he's now branched off and gone in and it's potentially earning more money. He wants to go again, but we don't have up-to-date financials or tax returns for him right now. So we had that chat. Obviously, we can collect the BAS statements and see that. We can see the turnover. We understand the industry that he's in, being a plumber. So the expenses, we did a rough calculation in terms of what it might be on his profit. We said, well, you're looking really good, but we are going to need your tax returns done. And it depends how long that takes to get done.
I guess it gives them a kick to do their tax return,
Yep.
Do you find there is a swing of people who are self-employed sort of lodging around that mid-year time frame, or do you think it's a little bit of a steady flow throughout the year?
Yeah, like I said, it gets back to really what their financial management has been like. I mean, at times, I've had to illustrate clients, their personal expenses going out of their company account. What are you doing? No, you need to keep this stuff separate. So there's a whole lot of stuff, and that's where I think they do need a bit of help and guidance in some areas on that front. But they're not, obviously they wanted to buy another property, but the reality is they haven't even instructed to get their financials. So the wage earner is different. I mean, effectively I could get a couple of pay slips and his income summary today. I could lodge an application tomorrow.
Sure.
All right, but hold on, I haven't got tax returns and so forth, and then there's a particular problem with
Do
small
banks
business.
look mostly at tax returns, or is BAS fine, or what do they look at?
There's all different criteria out there now. Obviously, in terms of some banks now will just look at 12 months results as well.
Yeah.
Some will just look at a tax return and not the financials. So there's a whole vast range.
The reason I'm asking is, let's say I'm looking in May, are you going to use something from 10 months ago as a tax return?
That's a good question. So effectively, a lot of the banks, if we take, generally January of a new calendar year, when they want the previous year's financials a lot, but there are some banks that will wait to the end of March, and there's one particular bank that will go to the 15th of May. Right. So, so that's where there can be differences and timing on that. So, and obviously that's the whole point of coming to someone like ourselves to then work out really what the options are. Yeah. So, if we can do something without incurring unnecessary costs, then that's a good thing.
Okay. This might be a silly question, but I have an understanding that you need to work under your ABN for 2 years. Is this a myth?
No. So obviously there are variants. So such as the gentleman I talked about previously, he's a skilled plumber. All right, so he's always worked in that trade. He's so obviously he's moved from a wage earner to self-employed. Now we do need some sort of track record. The bank wants to see, can he operate it as a small business person? Because when you're a wage earner, you turn up, you get paid, whatever. So that's easy. But what if he doesn't seem to manage his money very well? So that's why they're looking at least some sort of results, like 12 months, to then see, all right, that's fine. So take into account, we can work on an ABN that's, potentially just 12 months sort of thing on that front there. So the one we're dealing with now is only 15 months, but at least I'll have a 4 year's tax returns. So he's buying a block of land later in the year to the end of the day, so he'll qualify. So he wanted to buy something now, but I just said, well, right now you can't buy something at this very moment because you just don't have any financials or tax returns on that basis. So, but at least we knew there would definitely be something there because we obviously can collect BAS statements, and then we have an understanding of really how their expenses work, and so we run through that. So and so what I'll do is initially the accountant will send me some drafts of financials on that, and I'll say, yep, that's fine, sort of thing, and we can go from there. So it's not necessarily lodging straight away, but at least we can work together with the other professionals, like a financial planner, like an accountant. So
I think that probably works well in the new home build space because let's say you get a bot that's not titled, that gives you time to get your ducks in a row in terms of financials, and making sure the accountant's above board, you're on track.
Correct.
Everyone's sort of done all their documentation. So then by the time, we're ready to actually purchase the land and settle, everything sort of aligns in that way.
Yeah, so we can manage it. So that's the thing. It's just understanding we involve all the right parties, and hence I like to try to talk to the accountant and so forth as well to appreciate what's happening. Yep.
Would it be relevant, let's say if there was, let's say the plumber, for example, and then his partner was a PAYG nurse?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make any change or relevance, or is it very much?
No. So her income would be nice and easy to assess. Obviously, they get allowances and so forth, so we understand how their industry works.
Yes.
All right, so we would get their 25 income summary that will then summarise all that, because there can be some different shading on commissions, on bonuses, on allowances and so forth.
Over time, whatever.
Yep, over time and so forth, but different lenders. But a nurse is actually an essential worker. So a lot of banks will actually treat that at 100% income. So that's what I'm saying. There's really a whole lot of variances.
It's something you touched on where you're like, oh, he's a skilled plumber. He has that track record. So he would be looked at quite favourably. Let's say, for example, I'm like, I want to start a dog washing business where I have no skill in and no
That's right.
track record in.
Yep.
Would I need a longer time before I could lodge?
Yeah, you could do. Absolutely. It's not, well, obviously, there can be change. It really depends on the strength of the client and so forth. So that's what I'm saying. It's not just about income. I've got someone approved on 6 months with the ABN income, and we annualise it, but there were some nice strengths about that client that we were able to mitigate and find again. The lender goes, I'm comfortable with that income sustainable.
Okay, interesting.
So that's why I say it's not just grab a couple of pages of income summary and lodge it with the bank and away you go, which can be with a lot of clients can be relatively simple, not in all cases.
Yes.
But on self-employed, hold on, there's a whole lot of extra stuff we've got to check out.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right. So I think what you're saying in a nutshell is if you are self-employed, you are a contractor, work under an ABN, any of these sort of models, really to talk to a broker that is specialising in that space and understands it, right?
Correct.
And from then, if you're looking at building, getting a block that aligns with that and lodging with your actual financial documents as well, sort of aligning it.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah. So.
Anything else you want to add to it before we wrap up?
No, not at all. I think the only look, there's, and obviously we're seeing different types of borrowing in terms of trust structures and bits and pieces on that. But at the end of the day, they've just got to make sure they get the right professional advice on that stuff, because it is important that all that stuff is kept. We're here to advise around the finance and the loan size. Because I'll remind clients, it's not about the bank, it's about the loan. We've got to get the right loan, because it's not your money. You've got to pay it back. If you don't pay it back, they'll sell your house. So at the end of the day, we're about a long-term relationship, so we want to make sure that client does the right thing and we look after them. Yep.
All right, great. All right, well, thank you for your time, Jeremy, and giving us insights on self-employed people looking at getting financial loans for either building or established homes. If you want any more information on Jeremy, click on the contacts below. But like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
This is the Build Out West podcast with your host Tony Hyde from Evolution House and Land Specialists and Catherine Smith from Build Bright Builder Brokers.
If you guys are looking to build in WA or simply curious to see what's going on in building, you guys are in the right place. We're here to give insight with professionals in the game, coming to give the inside scoop. Episodes are uploaded weekly, so don't worry, we don't skip a beat and you won't either. Like, share, subscribe, sit back, relax, and let's go.